Hello and welcome of course to another circuit build in Gran Turismo 7, and this time I'm turning my attention to the racing sphere, to one of the most popular builds that I did back in GT Sport, but in a different setting. See, for the 911 RSR in that previous game I fully tuned the power. You can make any car quick if you do that, so once again this one is working with the bare minimum. Now the one thing that I have done is fit it with the tunable transmission, the racing transmission in particular, just so that you can tune those gears. But in terms of the lap times, you can see there the top two I've left stock as a 140.449, and then this tune is a 139.213. Now I've no doubt that plenty of people could destroy both of those times with and without the tune, and I will say this car, unless my memory is off, feels even more OP and even more forgiving, even untuned, compared to the last game. Because if it felt like this in the last game, I don't think I would have even done a tune for it, whereas now this thing feels fantastic. Now, as you can see, I have not adjusted the power. So if you do want to change that, of course you can use a variation of the tune and adjust it as necessary, stretch out the gears a bit more, but this is just to give you what to work with without doing any of that, to show you what kind of a raw difference we can make. Now I will say, give the car a try completely stock first, see what you think of it, then come back and try this one out. Now for the suspension, we've got the ride height on 60mm and 70mm. For the anti-roll, I've left that on 5. I've increased the compression just a little bit on the dampers to 32. Expansion is still on 40. 3.5 for the frequency still. Camber is pretty high on this car at 3 for the front and the back. I've left that untouched. You could try changing that up if you wanted to, go a little bit lower perhaps. And as far as the toe, I've neutralised it on the back, so it's not dragging those tyres. On the front though, I am running some toe. It's towed out by 0.20, which I would strongly recommend trying that if you are going to use this tune. As far as the diff, I actually haven't touched that at all. It's already set up pretty nicely, and like I said, this tune just gives you a fairly minimal improvement over what is already a fantastic car. As far as the downforce, I have changed that a little bit, especially for top-end speed, of course. Just dropped it to 575 on the back, 425 on the front, so dead centre in other words. As far as the transmission, we've got a top speed auto setting of 300 kilometers an hour, which is what, like 186 miles an hour, I believe. Then for the manual adjustment, we've got 2.3, 1.8, what was 1475, but the game likes to change this around after you've done it, what was 1250, then 1.1 and 1. That last gear in particular is pretty close because, again, it's only running standard power in this case, and a final drive of 3.8. And that is it for the tuning. Like I said, if you want to give it more power, which you certainly can, it's up like, I think 788 horses or something with the high RPM turbo, then by all means do so. This is just giving you more of an idea of what you can do without affecting the performance points too much. So it's still around 725 as you can see, and you should be able to use a variation of this, if you for example lower the performance points or whatever, to use it in career mode or missions or wherever you want to. So that's enough of the blurb about the tuning. Now let's take it out on the track, of course, to show that lap time difference in practice. So as I mentioned, I would strongly recommend checking this car out first in its stock form. Some people, I will go so far as to say, might even prefer the stock tune to the one that I've done. Now, personally, I find that the tune that I've done feels, to my eye at least, a little bit more focused and a little bit more stable when I push it harder than the stock version does. The stock version is a little bit softer and maybe even a little bit more forgiving. The payoff is that I don't find it personally quite as quick. Now again, you can see here this is my out lap, so it's lap 1 that I'm doing this time on. Likewise with the stock version, I do it on the out lap. So if you go lap over lap over lap, of course you'll make both times quicker and quicker, but this is just jumping into the car, getting a lap out of it, then swapping the tune, jumping back out again, and running another lap. So that's the immediate kind of raw difference that you can see. The lap difference of, what, a second or more is pretty significant though, so if you do decide to use it and compare the two, I would be curious to see who prefers the stock version and who likes maybe this tune or a variation of this tune. Ultimately though, if you want to try this setup out, or of course my road car tunes, which are similar to this, but they tend to have even better results because a lot of road cars tend to be more challenging, whereas like I said, this is already set up very nicely in the game, then of course look around on the channel, click the playlist on the screen, and you can find those. But until next time, I'll see you then with more tunes. Of course, stick around on the channel for more, and until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.